Okay, let's continue with our poem Ulysses by Alfred Tennyson. Okay, so myself not least but honored of them all. So here Ulysses is talking about how experiencing different garments, customs, different types of people, weathers, climates. Okay, and he says that he was honored in all these places. He was celebrated as a great hero, great warrior, almost like a one among the gods. So, and drunk delight of battle with my peers. Okay, this is something which we in the modern world do not understand. He's saying that he has drunk delight. Okay, so this is another reference to drinking alcohol, as in like being inebriated or enjoying the drink of life. Okay, here he's referring to the enjoyment that comes from fighting in a battle and being a warrior. So it was. This is something that we do not, as modern people, encourage. In the sense that people don't go and join in the army to enjoy the, enjoy bloodshed and killing and all, right? But back in those days, it was a very different sort of world. So they celebrated these things, and they thought that this sort of a thing is like something on a different level. And I think many of the peoples, like not just the ancient Greeks and all, like the Vikings, and even in our culture, like that was seen as something which is very exalted. So that is why he says that he has drunk delight of battle with my peers. So fighting alongside his friends and his companions, that gave him a lot of delight. He enjoyed that. Far on the ringing plains of windy Troy, I am. So this is where the battle of Troy happened. The great war happened here, where the fall of Troy happened due to a particular sort of horse. So basically, you are supposed to go back and learn about the Iliad, what happens in the Iliad, not just Odyssey, but go look up Iliad. Most of you would be familiar with this one movie called Troy. Okay, it's quite an old movie now, but of Brad Pitt. That's a because I'm referring to this because most of you have the access to popular culture, movies, and all, right? So basically, you can look that up, watch that movie to get an idea of what this battle was about and how it was won. Okay, and learn about the Trojan horse and the Trojan War, and how Troy fell in one day, in one night, basically. Okay, so I am part of all that I have met. Okay, so basically, he has become a part of, even when in modern world, when we go to different countries for travel and experience and all, somehow that becomes part of us, and we become a part of it. Like there is an interchange that happens. We don't go for such an experience, but somehow we are changed by what we encounter. So I am a part of all that I have met. Yet all experiences is an arch, where through gleams that untraveled world, whose margins fade, forever and ever and forever when I move. So he gives a beautiful picture here. So imagine Ulysses on a ship, traveling on a ship voyage. He looks out. What does he see? Just this endless sea. Okay, and he describes it as an arch. Where do you see arches? Where you see it when in entrances. And he says that this scene of looking at that world, okay, which seems endless actually. If you look at if you are in a ship and you look at the sea and the oceans and all, like you just see that there is no end to it. It looks like an arch. So he's saying that it gleams, it is gleaming, is shining, and it's as if like it is inviting him, that there is so much this untraveled world, unexplored world that is there, and it's calling out to him, and he wants to go out there and explore that. He doesn't want to just sit in that island and do nothing. So is an arch where through gleams that untraveled world, whose margin fades forever and ever. So that margin is never there. It just keeps fading. The more you go, the more you can explore. So that is what is attracting, okay, and drawing him to travel more, to explore more. He wants to experience more. So how dull is it to pause? So, how dull, so boring is just to pause, to make an end. Just say that, okay, I'm retiring, I'm just done with my life and all. How dull is it? So, to rust unburnished. So now he gives the picture of like something, if you don't use it, you just throw it on the way, throw it aside. What happens to it? If it's iron and all, like it starts rusting. So that is what he's referring to here now. Okay, he says that you just rust unburnished, not to shine in use. So you become something like a weapon or something like of iron, which is useless basically. And you don't shine without being used. Okay, not to shine in use, as though to breathe were life. Okay, so here there is a distinction he draws between existing. Okay, you exist because you are breathing and you are biologically well. Okay, and that is not the same as living life. The as though as if it, like just breathing and just existing is the point of life. No, it's more is what he's saying. So where life piled on life were all too little, and of one to me little remains. Okay, so just life over life, like all too little, like very small picture of life. Okay, it's just like you just go through the motions and every day, and you just live life like there's nothing, no point to it and all. What's the point of just existing is what he's saying. Okay, but every hour is saved from that eternal silence. Okay, so he's talking about this eternal silence. Eternal silence refers here to death. Okay, something more, a bringer of new things. So but if he decides to go out there and explore, he will save every hour. Okay, every hour is saved. Okay, he can experience every hour, he can experience life to the fullest if he does this, right? And a bringer of new things. So, and while it were for some 3 suns to store and hoard myself, and it is while, it's disgusting. While means something which is horrible, horrible to just. Mm, for it were while it were for some 3 suns. 3 suns here doesn't mean like there are 3 suns. Okay, it means that 3 suns, like 3 times the sun comes up, is referring to 3 days. Okay, so it's like a saying basically. When you say like what for example, in common speech we say like what is life, you just live for 4 days or something like that in Indian languages, right? A few days or something like that. So that is the way of saying, talking here. So 3 suns refers to just to live for some time and just die. What's the point in that, right? So, and it is disgusting or vile, or to just store and hoard myself, just store and collect things. Mostly average person's life is something like that, right? Like we collect things, we make sure that we have a home to live in, and all the things we just. Collect the furniture and everything. We see everything is nice, and you just settle in this one place. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to just live in this cozy little comfortable place. That is not what he's looking for. He is looking for adventure. He is looking for something more there. Um, so basically we continue, and this gray spirit yearning in desire. So now here he says that he is a gray spirit. So in a way, because of his experiences, he has become more wise. So gray spirit here refers to not his age. Well, he is old because he calls his wife old, right? So after 20 years he has returned. but he says, he calls himself Grey Spirit. Okay, so he says that as if, as some people nowadays, they say that, it's an old soul, right? In that way, like because of his experiences, he's become a Grey Spirit, yearning and desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star. So, here it is an important point we need to understand here. He's not just looking for adventure, he's not just looking for conquest, as in fighting wars and being a warrior. It's not just about that. Okay, this is a feature in a Western civilization, which is unique, I believe. Okay, there were many people in the ancient world, in many cultures, for example, the Mongols, or like the other people, Chinese, or who fought wars, expanded their kingdoms, and tried to secure a large portion of land, moved to places in that way. Okay, but there is a difference you see in the Western world. I think we can think of people like Alexander the Great, and later on the Crusaders from Europe, and if you think of the times of the colonial times, where all these European nations went to various parts of the world, the Middle East and Africa and Asia, and colonized those places. All of these have one thing in common, actually: this desire to move out of one's own place. This was very uncommon in the world. In all cultures, they stuck to their own place, their own culture, their own language, and very few people actually stepped outside of this boundary. Traditionally, they stayed where they were. But the thing is, I think Western civilization is different in this matter, in that there, even a very ancient myth like this, mythological text like Odysseus, or Ulysses, we have heroes who actually traveled a lot. We went out, and there is this hunger to explore the world, go do great works, and they have been in a quest. Okay, and it was not just a quest for gold or riches or conquest or fighting, but it was also a conquest for knowledge. You see that throughout this poem, he actually wants to experience other things. He talks about different governments, different councils, different things out there that he experienced, and he wants to experience more. Okay, that fascination with the other, the fascination with the other cultures, even when the Britishers and the other it came here, you see that in the British archives, you see that willingness to learn about this culture that they were colonizing. They just didn't keep to themselves, but extensively studied the culture that they were colonizing. Tennyson expresses this desire, this sort of that is present in all of Western literature and Western civilization, basically, to this need, this desire to explore and to acquire knowledge about the world. And it has tied a little bit to the scientific exploration of the world also, right? To chart the entire world and go beyond one's borders and one's own country and region and locality, and get out there and conquer it and do this conquest. So when he says to follow knowledge like a sinking star, so like a sinking star, you follow knowledge beyond the utmost bound of human thought. So this is not just an exploration out there, okay? Not just going from our country to some other country or some other region, kingdom. This is about actually exploring with human thought. Go beyond what you really know in terms of knowledge, in terms of the exploration into, it can also be read as an exploration of the self. When you encounter the world, when you go out there, in some ways it changes you and it shows you yourself. So his potential of who he could be, the kind of warrior he could be, or the kind of almost like a legendary character that he can be, was only revealed when he went out. Okay, and it has to deal with this element of hubris. Okay, let me remind you of that word again, that defying the gods. That is what it was used for. In the modern world, this word is used for something in a positive sense, that you have this hubris to go against institutions and governments and go out there and challenge things, right? That kind of spirit is what I'm talking about, both intellectually and physically, basically, in the world that you live in, how you view the world and go beyond in the world. So this is what we are talking about. So there is a different angle to this, which we will discuss in the next stanza. In this stanza, Ulysses talks about his son now. So it's interesting the kind of things that he says about his son. So his son's name is Telemachus. That sort of gives us a clue of what about his character, basically. Telemachus in Greek means far from war. Okay, far from the battle or war. Okay, so tele means distance, and machus means warfare or battle. So this my son, so let us read. This my son, mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle, well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor, by slow prudence to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. So he is talking about his son, and he says that this is my own son, Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle. So basically, if he goes on an adventure, he just decides to go back there. Okay, he wants to live the life of an adventure, explore more. Of course, who will take care of the kingdom then now? Ithaca will be without a king. So his son is now old. So after 20 years, he has grown, right? So now he says that this my son will take over in my place, and I leave the scepter and the isle. So isle is referring to this island. Small islands are called isles, and the scepter here refers to that. I think during the coronation of the king, I think most of you have seen this in movies which depict ancient kings. You have this. Recently, there was this Sengol that was actually used by Modi. Like, it was taken up by him, and it was placed over there in the parliament, right? So that is what we are talking about when it's a Sengol. It's a symbol of power. It is a symbol of authority. Just like the crown is the symbol of power and authority of a king, even the scepter, that this small sort of a symbolic rod that kings and princes hold, that is a symbol of power and authority. So, well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor. So he says that I love my son. Okay, he's very loved by me, discerning to fulfill this labor. This labor means this work of being a king. So he will be the king that I am unable to be. Okay, I am too bored to be here, basically. So he will be that. By slow prudence to make mild a rugged people, right? So with slow prudence, with a lot of patience, with a lot of carefulness and thinking, he will make mild a rugged people. So again, there's a reference to he's already called his own people savage. Now he calls them a rugged people. Means they are rough, Okay, they get into fights and everything. They need someone like a good leader, a wise leader, to keep them in control, and a patient leader who will deal with them properly and judge them properly, and maintain that peace that they need in the kingdom, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. So this was seen as a job of a king, basically, to take this people which are rugged, and to, in soft degrees, slowly in degrees, okay, and with a lot of care, with a lot of carefulness, subdue them. He means like he conquers them, or not with force, basically, but with goodness, okay, with good behavior and with a lot of patience. He will make them useful and good. Basically, he will make them good citizens. So basically, it's a way of saying that I don't have patience to do all of this. Okay, I am too big for this. Basically, I don't want to be the king of this little kingdom anymore. I want to go out there and have this adventure. I want to explore more. I want to know what is out there. There is so much more to explore. So this fascination and all you see in many seafaring stories, basically. Even in Sinbad stories, for example, you see all sorts of strange creatures, islands, peoples that they explore. So he wants to do that. He wants to go on that adventure, basically. So subdue them to useful and the good. Most blameless is he. He's talking about his son, that Telemachus is blameless. He's nice. He's a very good person, centered in the sphere of common duties. So his world is also very centered in this common sort of things. So the duty of a king of ruling in island kingdom is here described as something which is very, of that sphere, that little bubble, or this world, that little world of their own, of these common duties. It is nothing great, basically, nothing outside of it, outside of this little bubble and this world. So he says that he is centered in the sphere of common dues, decent not to fail in the offices of tenderness. So he's very decent, and he won't fail in the offices of tenderness. So he will show compassion to his people. He will be very loving and kind. As a king, he will be a wise and good king, is what he's saying. So this is a very interesting way of saying that I won't have the patience to do all of that, but my son will take over, basically. Okay. Decent not to fail in the offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to my household gods. So he will do the duties. Back in those days, especially in Greece and Rome and places like that, and in most parts of the world, the duty, for example, your duty as a citizen of a person, of a kingdom, your duty, or what do you say, your purpose, for life would be something like this: to actually pay meet adoration to the household gods, to be faithful to the gods of the household. So this is something related to not going out. It's a stark contrast between Ulysses and his son. His son would respect the gods and stay at home and do his duties in the kingdom of Ithaca. Okay. And it has to do with this idea, which was very much present in our country also, that you actually stayed in the territory that you lived in, as in your country or your place that you live in, and the gods that you serve were very much related to the place or the village or the area or the locality that you live in. And stepping out of this locality and moving out of this was considered that you were moving out of the protection of these gods, or like in some ways you would anger those gods also. So there were restrictions on people to not move out. Okay, just like Poseidon was said to be ruling over the seas, okay, the sea god, in that same way. But does Ulysses have any respect for this? When he decides to go sail, even if there was indication of bad weather, there he was defying the gods. And even now, by even him going beyond and just going on this adventure outside of Ithaca was also in some ways going out of that. Out of the protective shield of the particular sort of deities. So that is why there is a contrast here. And he says that my son is more suited for this. Telemachus will be faithful. He will just do the duties properly. But I am not like that, is what he is trying to say. So when I am gone, okay, he will pay me adoration to my household gods when I am gone. He works his work, I mine. So he works, he will do his work, okay, and I will do my work, my purpose. My calling is much greater. So in ways you could read this stanza as in a very condescending tone. Like in a way he might, Ulysses might be patronizing his son, is by saying that, you know, for these common duties and all, like this my son is here. I love him, but he's good at his own thing. But I am, it's beneath me basically. It's beneath me to stay here after all the great things that I have done here. So I need to be out there doing, you know, courageous and great legendary works, and my son will sit here and just be in the kingdom. So it's an interesting way that you can see, because it seems like he's praising him, but if you actually look at it, it looks like he is patronizing his son and saying that he's very common. Like, you know, for the average stuff, for the normal sort of work, my son will take over, okay? And he doesn't want to seem like irresponsible by leaving the family again, who has waited for him 20 years, okay? And saying that, oh, my son will take over after me, okay? And that is what he gives in this stanza as a reason, or like an excuse to step out without feeling guilty about it.